Obstinacy is the result of the will forcing itself into the place of the intellect, meaning there are actually essential, fundamental, imperative, and unavoidable differences between the will and the intellect of the individual man and the woman in the world in one way or another, and that means the will and the intellect are fundamentally different entities and creations of the universe as well as of the human condition in one way or another, and their differences, polarity, distinctions have to be acknowledged and recognized, approved of, and understood, just as we are also fundamentally, essentially different human beings, not because of our humanity, but because of our talent, skill, knowledge, character, intelligence, ability, skill, virtue, merit, and essentially everything else that is either natural or that we have developed, grown, cultivated through years of hard work, dedication, discipline, desire, pain, ambition, fortitude. So we also want distinction, recognition for our own differences. We also want respect on the basis of who we are, what we represent, and what we bring differently, distinctively to the table. Because we are meant to be different, as we should, and we also are ultimately different, even though we always appear to be at least the same from the distance on a societal scale, but differences always prevail ultimately. We may subject our differences to repression for societal conformity and for our own pleasure, comfort, for validation, acceptance, approval all the time, but ultimately that repression is going to surface in our conscious behavior and cause interruptions and interferences in our growth, progress, learning, and those distinctions ultimately are going to take over our character in our relationships, educations, professions, job, and essentially everything else that we do and engage ourselves in. Our differences and distinctions of the biology, evolution, nature, and talent will be felt, will be visible in one way or another. That's how our differences work. And we should not force the will into the place of the intellect, because the intellect is different from the will. The will is also different. Obviously, they are different from the one another. And the will is associated with the human condition that always lives, that enables us to live, or that pushes and forces us to keep on continue living, suffering, struggling, making mistakes, learning. Even though we suffer, we bleed ourselves in the process of living life and existence. But then again, intellect is also different, because it's the faculty of knowledge, is the capacity for more and more knowledge. That is, again, cannot replace the will. The intellect does not help us live, but the will lives unconsciously, blindly, despite consequences, struggles, sufferings it faces or it has it to overcome. But